I get the chance to look at the pictures I've done myself, sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. Uh, Dominic is the photographer I most am acquainted with here, and I just like to use him as a sounding board. When I do a picture, when I see a picture through my viewfinder, the picture goes onto my mental hard disk. Whether or not the picture comes out in a proofread, the picture is there in my mind. So over 2 years, I collected thousands of pictures on Vietnam, and to this day, I don't know how many pictures I took because there are some pictures that I haven't even cataloged yet. And the same with my journals. So why I'm telling you this now is because of my own PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Where it came apparent for me was in rural Ohio in 1978, when after returning from 10 years in Asia, I was working as a social worker, as a family violence intervention worker. And doing that was more tougher in many ways than being a photojournalist in Vietnam. But I say advisedly because what I was doing in Vietnam was mostly non-combat related, and I did not face the things that photographers like Tim Page or others did. But I was asked as a social worker in Ohio to intervene in a trailer park where an American guy with a Thai wife from Nakhon Phanom was living in a trailer with 2 Dobermans and a bunch of other animals, and that he threatened his wife and children with, he would freak out about, he was a perimeter guard for the U.S. Air Base at Nakhon Phanom. NKP, I think they called it in those days. One of my pictures that's not here is a picture of a Belgian Catholic priest who is holding the communion wafer, the sacrament, over the altar, and he's surrounded by a bunch of American Air Force pilots. I had gone to Pitsanulok with him, and he told me how much he hated the American war and how much he hated the American government for doing this thing, and he didn't know how to do the Eucharist for these pilots who, as soon as they left the Eucharist, were going to bomb Vietnam and Laos. So we talked about that. It made an interesting picture. The reason I took this photograph of a schoolgirl in Cha Lan, the Chinese sister city of Vietnam, of Saigon, is probably pretty obvious. She's the only one looking at the camera. But, of course, as a photographer, I don't want people looking at the camera. But when you have maybe 1,000 regimented students and one takes a look, it makes an eye-catching image. I forgot to say, or I did not say, that not all the pictures are Vietnam, but they are a part of the community or the surface we share. Now, this photograph was done in Ohio, in suburban Cleveland, Ohio. But the hand in the foreground is of a Filipino Catholic priest who had spent some years with the Marxist guerrillas in the Philippines, and he was doing Tai Chi. He was doing Tai Chi. He is a teacher of Tai Chi and having a very lovely relationship with a lovely Filipino-Chinese woman who is also quite politically involved, but whose family were part of the economic establishment in the Philippines. So when we go out from the places we inhabit, we encounter other people, and that becomes part of this shared story. This was really fun. My favorite picture from this series was of Ganesha, the Hindu god Ganesha, Pratik, with M1 carbines on either shoulder. And Ganesha, in addition to being the god for accountants and students who are in examinations, is also the commander of the armies of the dead in the Hindu understanding of the afterlife. So I don't know what dead soldiers do. Maybe it's like Lord of the Rings. But these guys in the Cham Museum in Da Nang were playing dominoes or something, and there were hammocks strung between the statues of the Hindu gods from the Champa kingdom of 1,500 years before. In this place, they had statues of apsaras with bikinis painted on them, and Coke and 45 caliber cartridges and different memorabilia, you might say. So this was kind of an interesting, bizarre